Captain Lee Hyun-woo felt his stomach drop as the ship's alarms screamed around him. The indomitable spirit shook violently, throwing him against his command chair. Red warning lights flashed everywhere, and the main screen showed nothing but swirling colors that hurt to look at. "What's happening?" he shouted over the noise. "The FTL drive is going crazy," Engineer Kang Min-ho yelled back from his station. "Something's wrong with the new engine. I can't shut it down." Dr. Park So-young gripped her seat as the ship spun wildly. "Where are we going?" "I don't know." Min-ho's fingers flew over his controls. "The navigation system says we're nowhere, and everywhere at the same time." The ship suddenly stopped shaking. Everything went quiet except for the gentle hum of the life support systems. Hyun-woo slowly stood up, his legs shaky. "Status report," he said, trying to sound calm. "We're alive," said Commander Kim Jae-ho, checking his instruments. "But I have no idea where we are." Dr. Park looked at her scanner and her eyes went wide. "Captain, you need to see this." On the main screen, a massive space station appeared. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The station looked like a giant flower made of metal and crystal with thousands of ships docked around it. Lights of every color imaginable twinkled across its surface. "That's impossible," Jae-ho whispered. "There's nothing like this in our star charts." "Because we're not in our part of space anymore," So-young said, her voice full of wonder and fear. "Look at the stars. I don't recognize any of them." Hyun-woo stared at the station. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "How far did we travel?" Based on the star positions, So-young checked her computer. "We're about 40,000 light years from Earth." The bridge went silent. 40,000 light years, that was impossible. Human ships could barely travel a few hundred light years with their best FTL drives. "Sir," Min-ho said quietly, "we have another problem. The ship is moving toward that station and I can't stop it." "What do you mean you can't stop it?" "Something is pulling us in. It's like gravity but different. The engines won't respond." On the screen, the station grew larger and larger. Now they could see that it wasn't just big, it was enormous. The indomitable spirit was like a tiny and flying toward a mountain. "Captain," Jae-ho said, his voice tense, "I'm reading energy signatures from that station that are off the charts, and there are thousands of ships around it. Different designs, different technologies. None of them look human." Hyun-woo felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" "Alien ships, sir. Lots of them." Dr. Park suddenly gasped. "Oh no. Captain, I think we're about to crash into some kind of energy barrier around the station. Can we avoid it?" "Not with the engines not working." Hyun-woo made a quick decision. "All hands, brace for impact." The ship hit the barrier and something amazing happened. Instead of exploding, the indomitable spirit passed right through it like it wasn't there. But behind them, the barrier lit up with bright flashes and alarms. "We just broke through their defenses," Jae-ho said, amazed. "That barrier should have stopped us, but it didn't even slow us down." The ship continued toward the station, moving faster now. Through the viewports, they could see huge docking bays opening and closing, and alien ships moving in perfect formations. "Where exactly are we heading?" Hyun-woo asked. "Toward what looks like the main assembly hall," So-young said, checking her scanners. "And Captain, there are life signs in there. Thousands of them. Different species." "Different species?" "At least 800 different types of life forms. Some breathe oxygen, some don't breathe at all. Some are made of energy, others are made of crystal. It's like a gathering of every intelligent species in the galaxy." The ship suddenly stopped, floating just outside a massive transparent dome. Inside they could see an incredible sight. Thousands of beings sat in circular rows around a central platform. Some looked like giant insects, others like living trees. Some glowed with their own light, others seemed to be made of living metal. "It's some kind of council meeting," Jae-ho whispered. As they watched, all the beings in the assembly hall turned to look at their ship. The entire gathering fell silent. "I think we just crashed their party," Hyun-woo said. Suddenly, a voice filled their ship. It spoke in a language they couldn't understand, but their computer started translating. "Unknown vessel, you have violated the sacred space of the Galactic Council. Identify yourselves immediately." Hyun-woo looked around at his crew. Ambassador Yoon Da-hee, who had been quiet until now, stood up. She had been assigned to their mission at the last minute when Earth decided to send a diplomat on their survey mission. Now she looked terrified, but determined. "Captain, I think I should handle this," she said. "Go ahead, Ambassador." Da-hee activated the ship's communication system. "This is Ambassador Yoon Da-hee of the human species from the planet Earth. We didn't mean to intrude. Our ship malfunctioned and brought us here by accident." The voice came back, sounding confused. "Human? Earth? These designations are not in our records. State your sector of origin." "We don't know what sector we're from in your system," Da-hee replied honestly. "We're from the Milky Way galaxy, about 40,000 light-years from here, we think." A long silence followed. Then different voices started speaking at once, all in different languages. The translator was working hard to keep up. "Impossible! No species can travel that distance. How did they penetrate the barrier? Their technology is unknown to us. This violates all protocols." Then one voice rose above the others. It was deeper and older than the rest, and when it spoke, all other voices stopped. "I am the Hierophant, Supreme Arbiter of the Galactic Council. For 50,000 years, no uninvited vessel has entered this sacred space. Your presence here breaks laws older than most civilizations. Explain how this is possible." Hyun-woo stepped forward and took the communicator from Da-hee. "Sir, or Your Honor, or whatever the right title is, I'm Captain Lee Hyun-woo. Honestly, we don't know how we got here. We were testing a new faster-than-light drive near our home planet when something went wrong. Next thing we knew, we were here. You simply..." "Got lost?" the Hierophant asked, and there was something like disbelief in the ancient voice. "Yes, sir. We got lost." Another long silence. Then incredibly they heard what sounded like thousands of beings all talking at once. Some sounded angry, others amazed, and a few seemed to be laughing. "This is unprecedented," the Hierophant finally said. "In all our records, no species has ever gotten lost and found their way to Nexus Prime. Your ship passed through barriers that have stopped the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, yet you claim this was an accident?" "Yes, sir. A very big accident." Dr. Park was studying her. "Scanners, Captain," she whispered. "I'm reading some kind of field around this station. It's designed to keep things out, but our ship's energy signature seems to be completely invisible to it." The Hierophant spoke again. "Humans of Earth, you have created a situation that has never occurred in galactic history. The Council must decide what to do with you. Until then, you will be granted temporary sanctuary. A guide will escort you to guest quarters." "Thank you," Hyun-woo said. "We appreciate your hospitality." "Do not mistake necessity for hospitality, Captain Lee Hyun-woo. Your presence here changes everything." As the communication ended, a small alien ship approached them. It was sleek and silver, and it moved without any visible engines. "Well," Jae-ho said, "I guess we're about to meet our first aliens." "Remember," Da-hee said nervously, "try not to start an interstellar war." "Too late for that," So-young said, looking at her scanners. "According to these readings, half the ships around this station are now moving into defensive positions. I think our little accident just put the entire galaxy on high alert." Hyun-woo watched the silver ship approach and wondered what they had gotten themselves into. They had come out here looking for new worlds to explore. Instead, they had found an entire galactic civilization and crashed right into the middle of it. "Follow that ship," he ordered, "and everyone stay calm. We're representing humanity now." As the indomitable spirit followed their guide toward the docking bay, none of them realized that their accidental arrival had just started a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. The docking bay of Nexus Prime was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living metal that shifted and flowed like water. Strange machines floated through the air without making any sound, and the gravity felt different, lighter somehow. Captain Lee Hyun-woo walked down the ramp of the indomitable spirit with his crew behind him. Waiting for them was their first alien contact, a tall, thin being that looked like it was made of blue crystal. It spoke through a device that translated its words into perfect English. I am Facilitator Keln. I will show you to your quarters, while the council decides your fate. Thank you, Ambassador Yunda, he said, trying to remember her diplomatic training. We're grateful for your kindness. Keln tilted its crystal head. This is not kindness. This is protocol. Follow me and do not touch anything. As they walked through the station's corridors, the humans stared in wonder. The walls showed moving pictures of different worlds and space battles. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the halls, some walking, some floating, some that seemed to phase in and out of existence. Stay close together, Hyunwoo whispered to his team. And remember what the ambassador said about not starting a war. They passed a group of aliens that looked like giant insects. The aliens stopped, talking, and stared at the humans as they walked by. One of them, with bright red armor covering its shell, stepped forward. You are the ones who broke the barrier, it said in a clicking voice. I am Counselor Veltar of the Zephyrian Hive. Your arrival has caused great concern. Daehee stepped forward. We're sorry for any trouble we've caused. It was completely accidental. Veltar's compound eyes glittered. Accidents do not break barriers that have stood for 10,000 years. Your technology is either far beyond ours or you are lying. We're not lying, Commander Kim Jae-ho said, his military training making him stand straighter. Our ship just malfunctioned. Impossible, Veltar clicked. No malfunction could allow you to do what you did. Actually, Engineer Kang Min-ho spoke up. It's totally possible. See, our FTL drive works by creating quantum tunnels through space-time, and when the containment field failed, it created a cascade resonance that— Silence, Veltar hissed. Do not speak of your military secrets in public. Min-ho looked confused. Military secrets? I was just explaining basic physics. Dr. Park So-young stepped closer to Min-ho. I think they don't understand that we share scientific knowledge freely. Veltar's eyes went even wider. You share weapon technology with everyone? It's not weapon technology, Min-ho said patiently. It's just how faster-than-light travel works. Any engineer can build one if they have the right materials. The alien insects started making rapid clicking sounds to each other. Facilitator Keln quickly moved between them and the humans. This way, Keln said urgently. Your quarters are prepared. As they continued walking, more aliens gathered to stare at them. Some looked curious, others afraid, and a few seemed angry. The humans tried to act normal, but everything around them was so strange. Captain, So-young whispered, I'm picking up some interesting energy readings from the station's systems. They're incredibly advanced, but also incredibly inefficient. What do you mean? Their power systems are running at about 30% efficiency. They could get much better performance with some simple modifications. Don't even think about it, Hyunwoo warned. We're guests here. They finally reached their quarters, a series of rooms that could adjust their atmosphere and gravity for different species. The humans were given rooms designed for oxygen breathing, life forms like themselves. You will remain here until summoned, Keln said. Do not leave these quarters without permission. After the aliens left, the humans gathered in the main room. It was comfortable enough with furniture that seemed to reshape itself to fit their bodies. Well, Jae-ho said, sitting down heavily. That could have gone worse. Did you see how they reacted when Min-ho started explaining our technology? Daehee asked. They acted like he was revealing state secrets. Maybe to them, technology is secret, So-young suggested. Different cultures, different ways of thinking. Min-ho was looking around the room with interest. You know, this place is really inefficient. Look at these power conduits. He pointed to glowing lines that ran along the walls. They're losing about 40% of their energy to heat waste. Min-ho, Hyunwoo said in a warning tone. I'm just saying, with a few simple changes they could double their power output. Before anyone could stop him, Min-ho pulled out his toolkit and walked over to a wall panel. It would just take a minute to— Min-ho, don't. But it was too late. The engineer had already opened the panel and started rewiring something. Immediately, the lights in the room became brighter and steadier. The temperature became more comfortable, and even the air seemed fresher. "See?" Minho said proudly. "Much better." Suddenly, alarms started going off throughout the station. The lights in the corridor outside began flashing, and they could hear running footsteps. "What did you do?" Jeho demanded. "I just improved their power efficiency. It's a good thing." Facilitator Keln burst into their quarters with several security guards, aliens that looked like walking tanks made of rock. "What have you done?" Keln's voice was high with panic. "The entire sector's power grid is fluctuating." "I just fixed a simple wiring problem," Minho said innocently. "Your power systems were really inefficient. You altered our technology without permission. This is forbidden. But it's working better now, isn't it?" Keln checked a device on its arm. "The power output in this sector has increased by 300%. How is this possible?" "Basic electrical engineering." Minho shrugged. "You were using serial connections where you should have used parallel ones, and your insulation was creating unnecessary resistance." The crystal being stared at him. "You learned our technology in minutes and improved it?" "It wasn't hard. Your basic principles are sound, you just needed better implementation." More alarms started going off. Keln checked its device again. "The improvements are spreading to other sectors. Our maintenance systems are copying your modifications." "That's good, right?" Minho asked hopefully. "This has never happened before. You must come with me immediately." Meanwhile, Ambassador Dahi had been trying to understand the diplomatic situation. When a different alien came to escort her to a formal meeting, she followed eagerly. The meeting room was huge, with representatives from dozens of species sitting, in complex arrangements that seemed to follow strict rules about who could sit where and when they could speak. Dahi was placed in a chair in the center, surrounded by aliens who all stared at her in silence. "The human ambassador will now present formal greetings according to Protocol 7, announced a floating alien that looked like a jellyfish made of light. Dahi stood up, but immediately several aliens made distressed sounds. "You cannot stand during the greeting phase," the jellyfish alien said. "This violates the compact of respectful discourse." "Oh, sorry," Dahi sat back down. "I didn't know. Now you may speak, but only in the traditional format. Begin with acknowledgement of the eternal wisdom, then state your species' greatest achievement, then request permission to exist in the same space as your betters." Dahi blinked. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting us stay here while we figure out how to get home. We really appreciate it." The silence that followed was so complete that Dahi could hear her own heartbeat. That is not the traditional format," the jellyfish said weakly. "Sorry, but I don't know your traditional format. We've never met aliens before. Where I come from, we just say hello and try to be friendly." "You just say hello?" "Sure. Hi, I'm Dahi. Nice to meet you all." One of the aliens, a creature that looked like a living tree, spoke up. "You address us as equals?" "Well, yeah. Aren't we equals?" This caused an explosion of discussion among the aliens. Some seemed shocked, others intrigued, and a few appeared to be arguing. While this was happening, Commander Jeho had been asked to observe a military demonstration. The alien military leaders wanted to show him their advanced defensive strategies. They brought him to a command center where they displayed a complex tactical situation, 2 fleets facing each other across a solar system, with detailed plans for a battle that would take months to resolve. "This is the Kandorian border dispute," explained the alien commander, a being that looked like a metallic octopus. "It has been ongoing for 500 years. We show you so you understand the complexity of galactic politics." Jeho studied the display for a few minutes. "Why don't they just talk to each other?" "Talk? Yeah. What are they fighting about?" "Mining rights to 3 asteroids in the neutral zone. So why don't they just share the asteroids? Split them, 50-50, or take turns mining them?" The alien commander's tentacles stopped moving. "Share? Take turns? Sure. It's just rocks, right? There's plenty of space out there." "Why fight over 3 asteroids?" Because they cannot agree on who has the right to mine them," So they've been fighting for 500 years instead of just talking it out? Yes, it is a very complex situation. No, it's not, Jeho said simply. Get both sides in a room, give them coffee and tell them to work it out like adults. Should take maybe an hour. Dr. Han Yujin had always loved old books and ancient stories. Back on Earth, she spent her time digging through historical records and archaeological sites. Now, on Nexus Prime, she found herself in the largest library in the galaxy, and she couldn't resist exploring. The library was enormous, with floating platforms that moved between levels of data storage that stretched up and down as far as she could see. Information here wasn't stored in books or computers, but in crystalline structures that glowed with soft light. This is incredible, she whispered to herself as she walked through the halls. A helpful library drone, which looked like a flying metal ball, had given her access to the historical archives. What would you like to research? The drone asked in a pleasant voice. The history of the galaxy, Yujin said. I want to understand how all these different species came together. That is a very broad topic. The Galactic Council's official history spans 50,000 years. Perfect. Start me with the oldest records. As Yujin began reading through the historical data, she noticed something strange. The records were very detailed about recent events, but the further back she went, the more gaps she found. Drone, she called. Why are there missing periods in the historical records? Some data has been lost over time, the drone replied. Natural degradation of storage systems. But Yujin had studied enough historical records to know the difference between lost data and deliberately hidden information. These gaps were too clean, too systematic. Meanwhile, back at Earth, Admiral Cho Sung-min was having the worst day of his career. The indomitable Spirit was 3 days overdue from its routine survey mission, and all attempts to contact the ship had failed. Sir, his aide reported, we've detected some kind of energy signature at the ship's last known location. It's unlike anything we've seen before. Prepare a search fleet, Sung-min ordered. I want our best ships and crews ready to launch in 6 hours. Sir, should we notify civilian authorities? Not yet. Let's find out what happened first. The Admiral looked out at the stars and wondered what kind of trouble Captain Hyun-woo had gotten himself into this time. Back on Nexus Prime, Yujin was making disturbing discoveries in the ancient archives. The more she dug, the more she found evidence of something the official histories didn't mention. Drone. What happened to the Calarian Empire? According to these records, they were one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy 2 million years ago. But then they just disappear. The Calarian Empire suffered from internal conflicts and collapsed, the drone answered automatically. But that doesn't match these technical specifications. They had technology that was even more advanced than what the Council has now. How does a civilization like that just collapse? Yujin kept digging. The Calarians weren't the only ones. Every few million years, the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy would simply vanish from the records. Sometimes entire sectors would go dark, with no explanation except natural decline or internal warfare. This doesn't make sense, she muttered. Drone, are there any older archives? Something from before the official Council records? There are some fragmentary texts from the pre-Unity period. They are considered unreliable by most scholars. Show me anyway. The drone hesitated, as much as a machine could hesitate. These texts contain unverified mythology and superstition. I don't care. Show me. The fragments that appeared on her screen were written in a dozen different ancient languages, but the library's translation system worked slowly through them. What Yujin read made her blood run cold. The fragments spoke of something called the Devourer, an entity that came from the space between stars. According to these ancient texts, it was drawn to civilizations that became too complex, too interconnected, too stable. The descriptions were terrifying. The Devourer didn't destroy planets or kill people in the normal sense. Instead, it unmade them from reality itself. Entire star systems would simply cease to exist, as if they had never been there at all. This is just mythology, right? Yujin asked the drone. That is the official position, yes. But what do you think? The drone was quiet for a long moment. I think that sometimes mythology remembers truths that official history forgets. Yujin felt a chill run down her spine. She kept reading. According to the fragments, the Devourer followed a pattern. It would sleep for millions of years, then wake when galactic civilization reached a certain level of complexity and order. The last awakening, according to these texts, had been 2.3 million years ago, right around the time the Calarian Empire had collapsed. Drone, how complex is the current Galactic Council? How interconnected are the various species? The Council represents 847 species, across 15 million star systems, all connected by faster-than-light communication networks and trade routes. It is the most complex and interconnected civilization in galactic history. Yujin's hands started shaking. If the ancient texts were right, then the galaxy was exactly the kind of target that would attract the Devourer. And if it followed the pattern, it should be waking up soon. Drone, have there been any unusual energy readings from deep space recently? Anything from outside the galaxy? That information is classified at the highest levels. What does that mean? It means that yes, there have been unusual readings, but only the council leadership is allowed to know about them. Yujin stood up quickly. She had to tell someone about this. But who would believe her? She was just a human archaeologist talking about ancient mythology. At that moment, alarms started going off throughout the station. Not the local alarms they had heard when Minho had improved the power systems, but deep, serious alarms that made the walls vibrate. What's happening? Yujin asked. Emergency council session, the drone replied. All research activities are suspended. But Yujin didn't stop researching. She had found something in the newest fragment that made her heart race. It was a description of the signs that appeared before the Devourer fully awakened. First, there would be strange energy readings from the galactic rim. Second, the most isolated star systems would begin to go dark. Third, space itself would start to behave strangely, with the laws of physics becoming unreliable. And fourth, the Devourer would be drawn by any new source of chaos or unpredictability in the galactic order, something that broke the established patterns of civilization. Something like humans crashing through the galaxy's most secure defenses and turning everything upside down. In the council chambers, Captain Hyunwoo and his crew were being questioned by the Hierophant and the senior council members. The atmosphere was tense, with many of the alien representatives looking worried or angry. Captain, the Hierophant's ancient voice filled the room. We have detected the approach of more human vessels. Explain this. Hyunwoo was surprised. More ships? I don't know anything about that. We've been stuck here since we arrived. Our sensors show 3 human vessels approaching at impossible speeds. They will arrive within hours. That's probably our search and rescue team, Commander Jaeho said. When we didn't report back, they would have come looking for us. Counselor. Veltar stood up, his red armor gleaming. This proves the humans are not lost travelers. They are scouts for an invasion force. That's ridiculous, Dr. Park So-young said. We don't even know where we are. How could we plan an invasion? You expect us to believe that your species can casually travel 40,000 light-years by accident, but cannot communicate with your own ships? Ambassador Dahi tried to calm things down. Counselor Veltar, I understand your concerns, but do not address me directly, Veltar hissed. You have not been granted speaking privileges. Speaking privileges? Dahi looked confused. I thought we were just having a conversation. This caused another uproar among the council members. Several aliens started talking at once, their translator devices creating a chaos of overlapping voices. Order, the Hierophant commanded, and the noise stopped. Humans, your arrival has already disrupted our civilization in ways you do not understand. Now more of your kind approach. This cannot be coincidence. With respect, Hyunwoo said, maybe. The problem isn't that we're here. Maybe the problem is that your civilization is so rigid that a few lost travelers can disrupt it. The silence that followed was deafening. No one had ever spoken to the Hierophant like that before. Explain your meaning, the ancient being said, its voice dangerously quiet. I mean that in the past 2 days, we've accidentally improved your technology solved some of your diplomatic problems, and settled a military dispute that had been going on for centuries. If a few strangers can do that, maybe your system has bigger problems than you thought. The council erupted in angry voices. Some aliens were shouting in languages the translators couldn't keep up with. Others were making threatening gestures. A few, however, were nodding in agreement. In the chaos, no one noticed the small alerts that were starting to appear on the monitoring stations around the chamber. Reports of star systems going dark at the galactic rim. Energy readings that made no sense. Space itself beginning to behave strangely. Yujin burst into the chamber carrying her research data. "Captain, everyone, I found something important." "Dr. Han, you're not supposed to be here," Hyunwoo said. "This is more important than protocol," she said, breathing hard from running. Admiral Cho Sung-min stepped off his shuttle and into the strangest situation of his long military career. The docking bay of Nexus Prime was filled with aliens, more than he had ever imagined could exist. Some floated, some walked on dozens of legs, and others seemed to be made of pure energy. "Admiral." Captain Hyunwoo ran forward to greet him. "I'm glad to see you, but I wish you hadn't come." "What kind of greeting is that?" Sung-min asked, embracing his former student. "When you didn't report back, we had to come looking." "Sir, we've stumbled into something much bigger than a lost ship. This entire galaxy might be in danger." Sung-min looked around at the aliens, who were all staring at him with various forms of eyes, sensors, and sensory organs. "I can see that. Are we prisoners?" "Not exactly, more like guests who can't leave, and we might have accidentally woken up something that eats entire civilizations." "Of course you did." Sung-min sighed. "Give me the full report." As Hyunwoo filled him in on everything that had happened, more alarms began going off throughout the station. This time they were even louder and more urgent than before. Dr. Han Yu-jin came running up to them, her face pale with fear. "Admiral Captain, it's happening. The Devourer is fully awake. Show me," Sung-min said. They hurried to the main command center where alien technicians were working frantically at control stations that looked like works of art. The Hierophant was there, its energy form flickering with what looked like distress. On the massive display screen, they could see a map of the galaxy. At the outer rim, entire sections were going dark. Not just the lights of individual stars, but the space itself was becoming empty and black. 12 star systems have vanished in the past hour, the Hierophant said without turning around. Not destroyed, simply ceased to exist. Our monitoring stations show no energy signatures, no debris, no evidence that they were ever there. "How is that possible?" Sung-min asked. "We do not know. Our science cannot explain it." Dr. Park So-young was studying the readings at one of the alien consoles. "These energy patterns are unlike anything in physics. It's like reality itself is being unraveled." Yujin pulled up her research on a nearby display. "According to the ancient texts, this is how the Devourer feeds. It doesn't destroy matter. It removes it from existence entirely. The more complex and ordered a civilization becomes, the more attractive it is as food. And the Galactic Council is the most complex and ordered civilization in galactic history," the Hierophant added grimly. Counselor Veltar appeared beside them, his red armor now looking dull and scratched. "This is your fault," he accused the humans. "Your arrival disrupted the galactic order. You attracted this thing." "Maybe," Hyunwoo admitted, "but blaming us won't solve the problem now." "What do you suggest we do?" Veltar demanded. "Fight." "Something that erases star systems from existence?" "Yes," said a new voice. General Seo Tae-yang stepped into the command center, followed by several other human military officers. "That's exactly what we're going to do." Sung-min turned in surprise. "General, what are you doing here?" "When your ships disappeared, Earth Command decided this was too important for just a search mission. I brought the main fleet." "How many ships?" Hyunwoo asked. 200 of our best, including the new experimental vessels. We left Earth 3 days ago, but our new FTL drives got us here in record time." Tae-yang looked around at the aliens. "I see you've been busy." The Hierophant, floated closer to the new humans. General, your people seem remarkably calm about this situation. We've dealt with existential threats before, Taeyang said simply, usually by hitting them really hard until they stop being a threat. Several aliens made sounds of disbelief. You cannot fight a force of nature, Veltar protested. This entity exists outside normal physics. Everything follows some kind of rules, Taeyang replied. We just need to figure out what they are and how to break them. On the display, more star systems winked out of existence. The dark area at Tide, the galaxy's rim, was growing larger, and it was moving toward the center where Nexus Prime was located. At this rate, it will reach the core systems in less than a week, one of the alien technicians reported. What has the Council decided to do? Sungmin asked. The Council has determined that the only logical response is to evacuate as many species as possible to the outer galaxy arms and wait for the entity to return to dormancy, the Hierophant replied. Wait, you're just going to run away? General. Taeyang looked amazed. That's your plan? It is the only rational response. This entity has destroyed every civilization that has tried to fight it. Have any civilizations actually tried to fight it? Dr. So-young asked. Or did they just run away too? The Hierophant paused. The records are unclear. So nobody has ever actually fought this thing, Taeyang said. You've all just been running away for millions of years. Because fighting it is impossible. Veltar clicked angrily. It is beyond physical law. No, said another new voice. President Nam Ji-woo walked into the command center, flanked by her security detail. Nothing is beyond physical law. There are just laws we don't understand yet. The aliens stared at her. The President of Earth had personally come to this crisis. Madam President, Sungmin said, surprised. The situation here is extremely dangerous. Which is exactly why I needed to be here, Ji-woo replied. General, what's our fleet status? All ships operational and ready for orders. The crews are eager to engage. Engage? The Hierophant's energy form flickered rapidly. You cannot be serious. This entity has just erased 12 star systems. Then we'll have to make sure it doesn't erase any more, Ji-woo said calmly. Yujin was studying the ancient texts again. Wait, there's something here I missed before. The texts say that the Devourer feeds on order and predictability. It consumes civilizations that become too static, too stable. Yes, we understand that, Veltar said impatiently. But what if that's also its weakness, Yujin continued. What if the thing that attracts it is also the thing that makes it vulnerable? Explain, the Hierophant commanded. The Devourer exists outside normal physics, right? It operates according to its own rules. But what if we introduce something it can't predict? Something chaotic enough to disrupt its feeding pattern? President Ji-woo smiled. Dr. Han, you might be onto something. General, prepare the fleet for combat operations. Combat operations against what? Veltar demanded. You cannot even see this entity. As if in response to his words, the main display suddenly changed. Instead of showing the galactic map, it now showed an image from the outer rim. In the darkness where star systems had vanished, something was visible. It was enormous, larger than solar systems, larger than anything should be able to exist. It looked like a storm made of darkness and twisted space, with tendrils that reached out and touched reality itself. Where the tendrils touched, everything simply stopped existing. There's our target, General Taeyang said grimly. You want to fight that? An alien technician whispered. We've fought worse, Taeyang lied. They hadn't actually fought anything like this before, but human military doctrine was to act confident until you figured out how to win. President Ji-woo stepped up to the main console. Hierophant, I need to address both the Galactic Council and my fleet commanders simultaneously. This is highly irregular. Everything about this situation is irregular. Do it. The Hierophant activated the communication systems. Suddenly, the command center was connected to both the council chambers and the human fleet. Members of the Galactic Council, commanders of the Earth fleet, Ji-woo began. We are facing a threat that has destroyed civilizations for millions of years. The traditional response has been to run and hide, hoping it will go dormant again. That ends today. Murmurs of surprise and fear came from the council chambers. Earth hereby declares war on the entity known as the Devourer. We call upon all species to join us in this fight, not because victory is certain, but because running away guarantees defeat. Madam President, Veltar's voice came through the speakers. This is madness. You will doom us all. Counselor, we're already doomed if we do nothing. At least this way, we go down fighting. Admiral Sungmin stepped forward. All fleet commanders, prepare for immediate deployment. We're going to hit this thing with everything we have. Sir, came the voice of one of the fleet commanders. What are our rules of engagement against a reality-warping cosmic entity? Simple, Ji Wu answered. Shoot it until it stops moving. On the display, the Devourer seemed to sense the activity around Nexus Prime. Its attention turned toward the station and space itself began to twist in their direction. It's coming toward us, Yujin said quietly. Good, General Taeyang said. That will save us the trip. The human fleet began moving out from Nexus Prime, 200 ships heading directly toward an entity that could erase them from existence with a thought. Behind them, the aliens watched in amazement and terror. They're actually doing it, the Hierophant said. They are flying directly into battle with the Devourer. They're going to their deaths, Veltar muttered. Maybe, Captain Hyunwoo said, watching his people head into the impossible fight. But if anyone can find a way to punch a cosmic horror in the face and make it work, it's us. As the human fleet approached the Devourer, something unexpected happened. The entity's feeding pattern began to fluctuate. The first human attack on the Devourer sent shockwaves through both the entity and the watching aliens. For millions of years, nothing had dared to fight back against the cosmic horror. Now, 200 human ships were treating it like just another enemy to defeat. Impossible, Counselor Veltar whispered as he watched the battle unfold on Nexus Prime's main display. They actually heard it. The Devourer writhed in space, its massive form shifting and changing as it tried to understand what was happening. Where the human weapons had struck, reality seemed to flicker and spark like a broken computer screen. Report, Admiral Cho Sung-min called out from his flagship. Direct hits on the target, his tactical officer responded. But sir, our weapons are behaving strangely. Nuclear missiles are detonating in patterns that don't follow normal physics, and our energy weapons are creating effects we've never seen before. As long as it's hurting that thing, I don't care how strange it gets, Sung-min replied. On Nexus Prime, Dr. Han Yujin was studying the readings from the battle. This is incredible, she said to Captain Hyunwoo. Look at these energy patterns. What am I looking at? The Devourer operates outside normal physics, right? But when our weapons hit it, they're creating interference patterns. It's like we're jamming its signal. The Hierophant floated closer to them. Explain. The Devourer feeds on order and predictability, Yujin said, her excitement growing. But humans are naturally chaotic. Our technology, our tactics, even our thinking patterns are all based on adaptability and unpredictability. We're like static noise to its feeding mechanism. Dr. Park So-young was monitoring the communications between the human ships. Yujin's right. Listen to our fleet commanders. On the speakers, they could hear the human ship captains talking to each other. This isn't working. Switch to ramming speed. My engines are dead, but I've got one nuke left. I'm going to fly it right into that thing. Forget the plan. Just hit it with whatever you've got. My ship's coming apart, but I can use the debris as projectiles. The aliens listened in amazement. Where they would have followed careful tactical procedures, the humans were improvising constantly, changing their approach every few seconds based on what seemed to work. They have no plan, Veltar said in horror. Exactly, the Hierophant replied, understanding dawning in its ancient voice. And that is why they are succeeding. The Devourer was becoming more agitated as the battle continued. It had spent millions of years consuming civilizations that responded to its presence with either terror or rigid defensive strategies. But the humans were doing neither. They were attacking chaotically, unpredictably, and with a complete disregard for the entity's cosmic power. General Seo Tai-yang, commanding from his flagship, made a decision that would have horrified any sane military strategist. All ships abandon formation. Every captain is now authorized to engage the enemy using their own judgment. Use whatever tactics seem appropriate. Sir, his communications officer said, that's going to create complete chaos. That's the idea. Taeyang smiled grimly. The human fleet dissolved into what looked like a disorganized mob. Ships attacked from every direction, using wildly different weapons and tactics. Some ships flew directly at the Devourer and exploded themselves against it. Others used their damaged hulls as giant bullets. A few captains even started ramming their ships into the reality distortions around the entity. It shouldn't have worked. By every rule of military strategy and physics, the human approach should have been suicide. Instead, the Devourer began to destabilize. Its form started flickering between different states of existence, as if it couldn't decide what it was supposed to be. It's working, Yujin shouted. The chaos is disrupting its ability to maintain coherent form. But the battle was taking its toll on the humans too. Ship after ship was destroyed or damaged beyond repair. The Devourer might be confused, but it was still incredibly dangerous. Admiral, President Nam Ji-woo said over the communication link, our casualties are mounting. We need a new approach. Ma'am, with respect, we're making progress. Give us more time. Time we don't have. General Taeyang, how many ships do you have left? About 60% of the fleet is still operational, but most are damaged. That's not enough to finish this fight. Dr. So-young suddenly looked up from her console. Wait, I'm getting some strange readings from the Devourer. It's trying to communicate. What? Several people said at once. There are patterns in the energy fluctuations. It's not random. It's trying to send a message. Yujin ran to the communication station. Can we decode it? I'm trying, but it's unlike any language we've encountered. It's more like mathematical concepts. The Hierophant moved closer. Allow me to assist. I have experience with communication across different forms of existence. Working together, the human scientist and the ancient energy being began to decode the Devourer's message. What they found surprised everyone. It's not trying to threaten us, So-young said in amazement. It's trying to understand us. What do you mean? President Ji-woo asked. The message is essentially asking, what are you? It's never encountered anything like humanity before. Yujin looked up from the translation. According to this, the Devourer isn't evil. It's part of a natural cosmic cycle. When civilizations become too static and ordered, they stop growing and evolving. The Devourer removes them to make room for new life. So it's like a cosmic gardener? Captain Hyun-woo asked. More like a cosmic recycling system. But it's programmed to only consume civilizations that have become stagnant. Humanity doesn't fit its parameters. Admiral Sung-min's voice came through the communicator. Are you saying this thing is confused because we're too chaotic to eat? Exactly. And I think it wants to learn how to coexist with us. President Ji-woo made another quick decision. Dr. Park, open a communication channel to the Devourer. I want to talk to it directly. Ma'am, are you sure that's safe? Nothing about this situation is safe. Do it. The communication system crackled with energy as it tried to establish contact with an entity that existed outside normal space-time. Finally, a voice came through. Not exactly a voice, but something that human minds could interpret as speech. Small. Chaos beings. The voice was like the sound of galaxies grinding together. You are different, not ordered, not static. How do you exist? President Ji-woo took a deep breath. We exist by constantly changing and adapting. We solve problems. By breaking rules and trying new things. We grow stronger through conflict and challenge. This is unknown to me. All civilizations become ordered. All seek stability. All become food. Not us. We thrive on controlled chaos. We create order from disorder, then deliberately disrupt it to create something better. There was a long pause. Around the Devourer, space itself seemed to be thinking. You offer alternative We offer partnership, Jiwoo said. Instead of consuming static civilizations, you could help create dynamic ones. Work with species to keep them growing and changing. Instead of waiting for them to stagnate, Dr. Yu Jin stepped forward. The ancient texts say you're drawn to complexity and order. But what if that complexity came from constant change and growth instead of rigid stability? The Devourer's form began to shift, becoming less dark and threatening. This concept intrigues. Show me. General Taeyang, Jiwoo said. Order the fleet to stand down but remain ready. We're going to try something unprecedented. Over the next several hours, humanity demonstrated something that had never been tried before in galactic history. They taught a cosmic entity how to think differently. They showed the Devourer examples of human creativity, innovation, and adaptation. They explained how human civilization thrived on controlled chaos, how they deliberately created problems in order to solve them in new ways. Most importantly, they showed the Devourer that growth and change could be more satisfying than simply consuming what already existed. Fascinating, the Devourer said after observing human culture and technology. You create complexity through disorder. You achieve stability through constant change. This is efficient. More efficient than eating entire civilizations every few million years, Captain Hyunwoo pointed out. Agreed. I propose experiment. What kind of experiment? President Jiwoo asked. I will work with your species. Instead of consuming static civilizations, I will help them become dynamic. You will teach me this. Controlled chaos. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in voices as aliens discussed this unprecedented development. Some were excited, others terrified, and many simply confused. Counselor Veltar was among the confused. You want us to deliberately create disorder? That goes against everything civilization stands for. No, the Hierophant said thoughtfully. It goes against everything our civilization has become. Perhaps that is the problem. Over the following days, a new agreement was reached. The Galactic Council would be dissolved and replaced with a looser confederation that encouraged innovation and change. Instead of rigid protocols and ancient traditions, species would be encouraged to experiment and take risks. The Devourer would patrol the galaxy, not as a destroyer, but as a force for renewal. When civilizations became too rigid and stagnant, it would work with them to rediscover their capacity for growth and change.